Chapter 48, Quack of Clubs. When the two men returned to our table, there was a slight discrepancy in the score. They thought they were only winning by 38 IMPs. We went over the results and found the error on board 6. Unfortunately, we were right. They seemed almost apologetic about being so far ahead. Bridging isn't an in-your-face kind of game. There's no dancing in the end zone. I realized that the fact that they had fewer master points than us didn't mean all that much. They were a lot younger. It takes a long time to accumulate master points. Arnold, Lucy, and Gloria had all been playing for about 50 years. Trap had only played about 30, having quit for a while. The team we were up against had probably been playing less than 15 years, but they had already won enough master points to be in the top bracket. They were, I realized, about the age of Trap and Annabelle the last time they played together. We started with boards 1 through 6 this time. On board 1, our opponents tried to stop at 2 spades, but Trap, who had almost passed throughout, suddenly said 3 diamonds. He had only 7 points, the ace of hearts and the queen and jack of diamonds. I tried to keep my expression blank as I placed the 3 diamond card on the table. West bid 3 spades, and we set it by 1 trick. That was 50 points for us. If Trap had let them play 2 spades, they would have scored 110 points. It was a start. Pour me another cup of tea, he said. On the very next board, he bid 6 clubs and made it for 1370. Well bid, West said, after the hand was over. Our teammates will probably be in 3 no trump. You gotta push a little when you're down by 41, said Gloria. It's not 41 anymore, said East, a worried expression on his face. Trap and Gloria kept on pushing. They made slam on board 5 and then doubled the opponents on board 6, setting them by 2 tricks for 500. The caddy came by with boards 7 through 12 just as we finished board 6. I poured my uncle another cup of tea. On board 7, Trap had almost all black cards, 7 spades, headed by the king and queen, and 5 clubs, headed by the king and jack. His only red card was the 3 of diamonds. He was the first to bid. 4 spades, he said. I confidently set the bid on the table, and I was still just as confident as when he doubled. In fact, I was a little disappointed he didn't redouble. He only took 8 tricks. That was worth 500 points to our opponents. However, in the post-mortem, our opponents realized they could actually have made 6 diamonds for 1370, so this was still a good board for us. I looked at the IMPs chart. If Lucy and Arnold had bid 6 diamonds on the board, we would gain 13 IMPs. Trap wasn't happy about it. I could have held it to down 1 if I played you to jack 10 for double 10 of clubs, he said to the guy with the tattoo. It's always easier after you've seen all 4 hands, the man replied. It's funny how people quickly forget that Trap cannot actually see the cards. I started to give him his hand for board 8, but he was still grumbling about board 7. It won't matter if Lucy and Arnold bid the slam, I said. 6 diamonds is hard to bid, he said. Everybody's going to open 4 spades with my hand. It's called a preemptive bid. It makes it hard for the opponents to bid, since their very first bid has to be at the 5 level. I think that might have been the first time he ever took the time to explain bridge to me. It felt good. I started to give him his hand for board 8. Come on, he interrupted. I had been saying his cards too slowly. We reached board 10. The thermos was empty. I thought about calling Theodora and asking her to bring down some more tea, but you weren't allowed to use cell phones in the playing area. The contract was 4 hearts. West was declare, and after the first 7 tricks, he'd won 5 and we won 2. We needed 2 more tricks to set the contract. These were Trap's remaining cards. 2 of clubs, said Gloria, placing that card on the table. West called for Dummy's 10 of clubs, but then it was Trap's turn. He thought a while. The jack of clubs was my choice, but Trap was on a roll. If he played the 8, I knew it would be right. Queen of clubs, he said. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, so I didn't do anything. I just sat there. After a long and uncomfortable moment, Trap wanted to know what was happening. We're still waiting for Alden to play a card, said West. Queen of clubs, Trap repeated. I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. I remained motionless. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call the director, said West. I think you better, Trap said, his voice quaking. East raised his hand. Director, please. I'm sorry, said West. No need to apologize, said Trap. The director arrived and the situation was explained to him. He instructed Alton to play the Queen of Clubs, said West. And apparently I do not hold that card, said Trap. His voice was without emotion, but I could feel his humiliation. The director thought a moment. I doubted the situation was anywhere in his rule book. Okay, he said at last. We're going to treat this as unauthorized information. He turned to Gloria. You now know your partner doesn't hold the Queen of Clubs. You will have to play the rest of your hand as if you don't know that information. Of course, if you're the one holding the queen, then there is no unauthorized information. But don't say so, one way or the other. Otherwise, you'll be giving unauthorized information to your partner. He turned to West. You are permitted to know that the South doesn't have the Queen of Clubs, and if that information helps you, you may use it to your advantage. After the hand is over, call me back if you feel you've been damaged. He then told me to take Trap aside and tell him his remaining cards. But you are not to any way suggest what card to play, and you are not to tell him what cards have already been played, either by him or by anyone else. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell the director that there was nothing I could possibly tell my uncle that he didn't already know. I wanted to tell him that not only did Trap know every card that was played, he could also tell you every card in everyone's hand. Except that wasn't the case. Not this time. I rose from my chair. Trap remained seated. Come on, I said. He didn't move. I pulled on his arm, but I might as well just have been tugging at a block of cement. I'm done, he said. You have to finish the match, I said. You know how to play, he said. You finish it. I looked to Gloria for help. Tears were flowing down her face. Call my room, said Trap. Have Theodora come and get me. With an unnaturally controlled voice, Gloria asked our opponents if they had any objections to Alton playing the remaining hands. That's not a problem, he said, his voice quiet and sober. I found a house phone and called Trap's suite. When Theodora answered, I said, Trap needs help. Then I returned to the table and played the Jack of Clubs.